welcome to another Fight of the Night review. This one that took place at the Vice Veterans Memorial Arena in Jacksonville, Florida, United States. And it was the main event of the card. It was between Josh Emmett and Topuria. And as always, I'm going to try and break down the fight as best as I can remember it. It's probably not going to go super well, but I'll do what I can. So the fight starts, and it is pretty easy to see early on that Topuria wants to try and play a much smarter game, as that's a thing he's been doing a lot of his fights. And Emmett is the kind of guy that will try and walk into a firefight, and he's immediately going for some really big stuff. He's not landing all of it. He's the more active striker, but he's not as accurate as Ilya is. And Ilya counters Josh really well with some really nice lefts. Goes to the body quite a bit too. Josh attempts to go to the body as well, but Ilya's countering is just much more on point, and he starts to land some really good stuff. He starts throwing jabs through Josh's guard, following up with a good right hook. Does this a few times in round one. It is a fairly even round, I would say, but I think Ilya just has a much better striking advantage. He's fighting a lot smarter as well, and he's starting to throw leg kicks as well, and that throws Josh a lot of his base, because he's going for those extending combos and overextending himself quite a bit. He slips a few times, not just in round one, he slips a few times throughout the fight. But yeah, he's eating some nasty leg kicks. He does try and line some body shots, but Ilya's just fighting way too intelligently. Josh isn't really getting a lot off, and when he does, it's not without some resistance from Ilya, who is countering really well with his own boxing. His own left hook is there for him all day. Josh does land a good few fairly big shots, I would say, in round one. But I would give the majority of round one to Topuria. I think he was just much more present in the rounds, much more intelligent, much more evasive, used his footwork a lot better, and yeah, he set things up wonderfully with his leg kicks, and Josh kept slipping up quite a bit, wasn't landing as much as I think he was hoping to, and he paid very badly for the misses, and Ilya made sure that he knew that. So yeah, I give round one to Ilya. We then get to round two, and I did fail to mention that round one was fairly close in some areas, but round two, not nearly as much. Josh is going a lot again for the same strategy he went for in round one, trying to get a firefight out of Ilya, trying to close the gap on him. I think it looks like he goes for a takedown at some point, but he doesn't really he doesn't land it at all, really. He doesn't even clasp his hand. I don't think it was a takedown, I think it was just another slip he did. But yeah, no, Ilya's making him pay, again with the beautiful boxing, great counters. Gets a lot of really good shots off on Josh, and eventually gets a massive knockdown on him, I think halfway through round two. Starts following up with some really good ground strikes. Josh defends well, though, is able to get out of it eventually, and he does try and fight back. He does land a few things. He even starts going to the body a fair bit, but it's clear his power is stunted because of the leg kick work that Ilya did in round one. That is starting to affect Josh quite notably in round two, and he's slipping up a fair bit more as well. Yeah, I give round two fairly easily to Ilya. Definitely much better round for him than round one, and round one also went to him as well, in my books. Yeah, Josh, he tried to be a bit more active, but I think he was trying to ignore his sorry from Heather. He was trying to ignore his very obviously it was starting to swell his lead left leg. He was trying to ignore the pain of it, and he started paying again with the bad missing. Again, overdoing things when he shouldn't have been overdoing them. Trying to stay in there, trying to utilise the boxing, because he is a good boxer, but his footwork wasn't there because his left foot was kind of dying by this point. So I give round two to Ilya. He was just, again, a lot smarter, a lot cleaner with the strikes, a lot more efficient in terms of his accuracy as well. So yeah, round two goes to Ilya. We then get to round three, and it at first appears to be the same sort of story. There is a noticeable thing that goes in though. For example, Josh has started to be busted up around the left side of his face, his left eye swelling pretty badly. That started around round one. But a more noticeable thing is that his left ear is starting to bleed. Some of the cauliflower ear of it is leaking from the whole of the ear. And it's I only noticed it because Dominic Cruz, who was on commentary for this one, pointed it out, and I wish he hadn't, personally, but Cruz has always been a very accurate guy in terms of his assessment, and that's what makes him a great commentator. He's not just not just a great trash talker, not just one of the smartest fighters ever, not just one of my favourite fighters, but he knows what the hell he's on about. So for him to notice stuff like that doesn't surprise me. I wish he fucking hadn't, though. But at first, this round does appear to be more of the same thing. Topuria starts landing more leg kicks as well, and that causes some nasty, nasty slips from Josh. There is a moment where, I think it's in round three, I could be wrong, where Topuria starts backing Josh against the cage and starts landing some good shots on him, and Josh sort of does a weird shovey trip that sort of temporarily fell to Topuria. It's not knockdown though, because like from a different angle, it looks like he landed a good left, and that clip Topuria knocked him down. It did, and it was just kind of a weird trip thing. I'm not really sure. Good on Mark Goddard to, who was the referee for this one and my personal favourite referee. Good on Mark Goddard to like keep note of that as well, and not start the fight suddenly because of something that stupid. Really, really smart work there. But yeah, round 3, the first half it seems to go to Topuria, but Josh starts to land some big stuff. He's hurt pretty badly. I think he gets knocked down before he starts landing his own stuff. But like, he's throwing really heavy shit, and he's like bleeding more. But he's just like, you know, biting down his mouthpiece and saying, "Fuck it, let's go." Starts hitting Topuria with some pretty big shots. Even clips him nasty with the left, and that does stun Topuria. I think it does back him against the cage a little bit as well. Isn't able to follow up from much, Josh isn't, but he's starting to land a little bit more, putting stuff together a little bit better, slipping a lot less, and sort of, again, like, I think he's not really falling for the firefight, but he's, you know, I'm not really sure what happened, to be honest. I'm trying to remember it, but Josh did start landing a little bit more, and I think he was just countering a little bit better. I think he was a bit more patient at times. But it's Josh Emmett. He's rarely a patient dude. You know, he likes to initiate the firefight. He likes to initiate the close-up stuff. But again, round 3, it's probably the most even round, I would say, but I'm giving it again in favour of Topuria. Mostly because of how clean striking was and the few slips and the knockdown he got on Josh. Although Josh did start firing back near the end of round 3. Well, from the halfway point-ish. So yeah, good stuff. We then get to round 4, and round 4 plays out pretty much exactly as round 2 did. Ilya, again, drawing Josh in, being patient, clipping him with some really good stuff, getting a fair few knockdowns on him, gets a nasty combo on him a few minutes into the 4th round. Yeah, no, I can't really think of much of note of this one. Josh doesn't really land anything. I think he might have slipped a couple of times. He might have landed a few hands here or there, but he doesn't really land anything of massive note. There's a great moment where Ilya lands a hell of a combo and that knocks Josh down, and like, you know, it's like a right and then a left, and then he sort of switches them up, blasting Josh with a lot of rights, knocks him down. And near the end of the round, he mounts him and starts landing some really good ground and pound, but Josh keeps moving and defending well, so that he's not in any particularly bad position for too long. And it does turn to him eventually sort of giving up his back, and Ilya tries to take it. And with only a few seconds left, he tries to slap on a submission, but Josh fights the hands, and then the round ends. So, yeah, I pretty easily give round 4 to Ilya as well. Like, this is probably his best round. You know, I think he knew he needed to have a better round than he did round 3, because I would call that one his worst round, even though I still think he won it. But yeah, no, round 4 was definitely, it was all Topuria, to be honest. We then get to the 5th and final round, and the advice that Josh gets from his cornerman before this one starts is basically, fuck it, bite down on the mouthpiece and start swinging like mad. And Josh actually lands some stuff with it. He lands some really good hits on Topuria fairly early on, and he sort of kind of has Topuria backing up throughout the first half of round 5. He's following up with some also pretty big shots of his own. Lands his lefts again, starts to throw a few leg kicks of his own. He did start that around round 3-ish, but like, he was being a bit more cautious with it because by that point his lead leg was already pretty badly damaged. Josh's was, but you know, he does start throwing a few more here and there. He starts to throw to the body a fair bit as well. But then Ilya initiates the first takedown and pretty much controls the fight from that point. From the halfway point of round 5, gets a takedown, starts throwing some ground and pounds, mostly just grinding Josh down. Josh does almost get back up, but Ilya gets another short little takedown again, and just holds him and sort of drags him around a little bit, and it ends with him basically in a sort of like kneeling back mount position. I mean, there's not really much that happens after the takedown, if I'm being honest. So yeah, now round 5 goes to Topuria as well. But Josh did look really good near the start of it, so now we have to talk about it. I did forget to mention as well, there was another moment in round 4 where Ilya got 2 knockdowns as well, I forgot to mention as well. But one of them looked like he hit Josh in the back of the head. Like, the second knockdown looked like he hit Josh in the back of his head. It's kind of difficult to tell. The referee didn't really think anything of it. I don't know if Mark actually saw that, but anyway. The fight itself, you know what, for a very, very one-sided fight, I mean, one of the scorecards literally is 50-42, Jesus wept. I thought this was pretty entertaining, honestly. I thought it was a very fun fight, and, it's very difficult to put Josh down on any given day. And he's one of my favourite fighters because, not necessarily because he's the most skilled, but because he just doesn't give a shit. He's going to try and get a great fight out of you, and I'm all for that. He's kind of like the Robbie Lawler of his time. I don't think that's an unfair comparison to make. But yeah, no complaints about Ilya winning by unanimous decision. I would easily give him all 5 rounds. He was just a lot cleaner, fought a lot smarter. And between the two, in terms of like facial stuff as well, Ilya completely unharmed, not a single cut. Might have been maybe a bruise here or there. Josh, left side of his face fucked up, like the bridge of his nose started to bleed a fair bit as well. Left cauliflower ear leaking badly. I mean, it was very clear that Ilya was winning the fight if you just looked at them based on appearance. But yeah, no. I thought this fight was pretty good. I don't think it will be in my top 10 because it's a bit too one-sided for my liking. But I will be honest, I was dreading even watching it when I saw the scorecards because I saw 50-42 and I was like, okay, this is going to be Holloway Cater all over again. And it kind of was, but much more entertaining, a little bit back and forth. And, unlike Calvin Cater, Josh Emmett looked like he had a chance or two. So, yeah, pretty solid fight. I recommend going to watch it. It's not going to be in my top 10, but it had better moments than I was expecting it to have, and it's a very fast fight as well. For a fight that goes the full 25 minutes, it's very fast and very clean for the most part, and can be pretty brutal as well, especially on Josh's behalf. Poor guy. That'll about do it from me. The next thing you'll see me for will probably be Music of the Week episode on Thursday, and then the return of PBW vs AVW after Reverence. I thought that was a pretty decent show, to be honest. So, yeah, no, I'll see you all Thursday at the earliest. And as always, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye-bye.